In this video, we're going to talk about the 10 best upcoming MMOs that are set to release in 2024 and beyond. So let's jump right in. Now, the first game I want to talk about, because it's been sort of relevant recently, is Pax Dei. A lot of you will have seen this. It's a medieval inspired game where there's going to be a lot of gathering, crafting, and of course combat. But it is a sandbox MMO. There's going to be areas where you build and it's completely sort of safe, and then you're going to be able to expand into the normal world and gather and kill the NPCs. And then it sounds like there's going to be like sort of special areas that are going to be PvP only, and you'll go in and you'll try and get the rare resources, but of course that will be heavily contested. It is on the Unreal Engine, and the one thing that sort of lacked in the alpha was the combat, but that makes sense because they hadn't even started working on the combat at that point. But it is going to be an action combat MMO, which is exciting for many people. The release date for Pax Dei at the minute is currently unknown, but I'm sure there will be more alphas soon. The next game is Throne and Liberty. Now, this is actually going to be a free-to-play multi-platform MMO that is going to be tab target, and it is made by NCSoft. I'm actually recording this before it's released in Korea. It releases in Korea on December 7th. The Western version as of right now doesn't have a release date, but I think it will be somewhat early in 2024. Throne and Liberty had a bit of a controversial release. Initially, when there was a public test in May in Korea, the feedback for the game was strongly, overwhelmingly negative. However, it looks like many changes have been made to that game, and it now looks like a more traditional standard tab targeting MMO. The game features guild raids, open world PvP that's sort of scheduled and can be avoided, there's 6-person dungeons, there's solo PvE content. It does look like it's going to have a lot of content. Obviously, one concern that people have is that unfortunately a lot of Korean MMOs tend to be pay to win. Whether or not Throne and Liberty will be on the worst spectrum of that, we don't really know as of right now. If you want more information about Throne and Liberty, I actually have a second channel, and I'll leave a link in the description below. I'm pretty much going to be covering that game quite a lot there, so go check that one out. The next game I want to talk about is Soulframe. Now, Soulframe is made by Digital Extremes. These are the creators of Warframe, hence the name. This game is going to be a free-to-play open-world adventure game. Now, the main thing here is we're not 100% sure if it's going to have a proper MMO system. It looks like it might be more of a co-op game, sort of akin to Warframe, I think. It's a little bit hard for me because I actually haven't played Warframe, but it feels like it's going to have that vibe, rather than be like a, you know, a massively open world where there's like thousands of players. I don't think the game is going to have that, but what it does have is very interesting action combat that has this sort of like soft lock-on, which is very reminiscent of, say, something like Dark Souls. Hence also the name, I would guess. It's a fantasy world that sort of feels medieval, but it's heavily inspired by nature, restoration, and exploration. We're not 100% sure when this game is going to release, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be very interesting. The next game I want to talk about is Ashes of Creation. Now, many of you will know about this game. It's obviously garnered quite a reputation already and quite a following already. Ashes of Creation, though, will be a hybrid combat game. Its main feature is the node system, which effectively means that the server will change quite dramatically depending on the players and how they interact with it. Only certain areas can go from small little villages into big metropolises. And then there's going to be sieges, caravan runs, and all kinds of interesting gameplay, as well as world bosses and more. It is going to have a sub-free, and they are currently promising absolutely no pay to win, and there's no real reason to think that will not be the case. Alpha 2 is definitely coming at this point in 2024. We have no idea when the release will be, but it's worth considering that Alpha 1 was about 2.5 years ago, and it's already been in development for quite a few years, I think nearly 10 years at this point. It is made by Intrepid Studios, and as I said, we're going to see Alpha 2 this year, so let's see how it is. The next MMO I want to have a look at is Archeage 2. Now, Archeage 2 is the sequel to Archeage 1, of course, and it is being developed in the Unreal Engine, and it features a seamless open world and fluid combat action. Now, it does appear to be an action combat game. If you look at the trailers, it definitely feels action. There appears to be some kind of lock-on, but it's really hard to tell because of just the trailer. We don't really have that much information. The developers Kakao have announced that actually it's not going to feature the same PvP as Archeage, but it is still going to have guild versus guild conflicts and much more. Archeage is sort of fondly remembered as being a very good MMO, but it was sort of ruined by its pay-to-win elements. So if they can keep that away from this game, Archeage 2 could be very interesting. Apparently there will be a beta test in late 2024 and for a release probably in early 2025. This is one I am keeping a close eye on. The next MMO on my list is Dune Awakening. This is an upcoming open world survival MMO and it is going to be developed by Funcom. The game is obviously set in the Dune universe and it is on the planet Arrakis. It looks to me that this game is going to have a lot of elements with regards to survival and base building, but it is going to feature like vehicles and PvP. This is definitely one to keep an eye on. I think we should be entering a beta test or alpha test relatively soon. I think for gamers who enjoy survival games and MMOs, you should definitely be paying attention to this one. The next MMO on my list here is Bellatores. Now, it's a little bit weird putting this one on here because so little is known about this MMO. Right now, there is no trailer, but if you go on their website, there is sort of like footage in the background, but it's not a proper video and you can't really watch it. It is a medieval MMO and it does appear to have action combat, and they talk about how there's going to be large-scale battles with character collisions. It all sounds very interesting. I think they also mentioned how there is going to be no class system, so like whatever abilities and weapons you use, those just level up, a little bit like some RPGs that you might be familiar with. It is made by a Korean development team called NU Inc., I think is how it would be pronounced and stated. In the past, they have made mobile games. Now, just to be clear, everything on this list is coming to PC and sometimes console, depending on the game. The next MMO on this list is Core Punk. Now, Core Punk is an isometric MMO, which is obviously a little bit different from a lot of the other MMOs, and it is going to have a seamless open world with a fog of war. You can think of this as sort of looking very similar to League of Legends in terms of its aesthetic and design, except it is going to be an MMO. It's going to have all the usual stuff, trading, dungeons, PvP, etc. And it is currently doing, I think, NDA beta tests. But one thing to note is that it's made by a company called Artificial Core, where they are currently based in Amsterdam, I believe, but originally they are based in Kiev in Ukraine. So whilst this game has sort of been delayed a little bit, I think it's been delayed for obvious reasons. And I think if players are out there, maybe you enjoyed Lost Ark or maybe you do actually enjoy League of Legends, then an MMO in that sort of vibe might be very interesting and something you want to be looking at. I could definitely see this one possibly coming out in 2024. The next MMO on this list is Chrono Odyssey. We are told that this game will be a seamless open world and it's going to have a lot of points of interest for players to explore. The graphics are looking good, the trailers are looking nice, and I do think it is made on the Unreal Engine. It has a unique thing which we're not 100% sure how it's going to work, which is being able to rewind the battle, effectively like a time shift, but I think only you will be affected by that, so it basically might let you teleport back. It does appear to have action combat with some kind of like soft lock. I believe it's going to have a class system with 6 different classes. The game is going to be made by NPixel, who I think their most famous title is Grand Saga, which I mean, I don't play these kind of games, but I think is effectively what is known as a gacha game. But at least this shows that they have a track record, and you know, I'm excited to see what they end up delivering. The next MMO on this list is a bit of a stretch, but I feel like if I don't put it, everybody will just talk about it anyway, and that is the Riot MMO. We know absolutely nothing about this MMO, pretty much, apart from the fact that it is made by Riot Games, the makers of League of Legends. Now, there is news about it actually being canon with the TV show. If I'm honest, I don't really know. It'll be set in the universe of Runeterra. We're not sure what kind of combat it will have. I think, very likely, that it will be a tab target MMO with a lot of skill shots. However, I don't know. Most people at the minute don't know. But Riot Games have the potential to absolutely dominate and seismically shift the MMO genre if they do it well. And Riot Games, typically when they enter a genre, often knock it out of the park. So whatever they do and whenever we hear something, this is definitely a game to keep your eye on. Right now it's a little bit premature, but it is going to be huge, I think, no matter what. I'm not going to dwell on these, but there are some honourable mentions. Blue Protocol is going to be coming out in 2024. I'm not sure how that's going to be received after its Japanese release, but I think if you like games like Genshin Impact, but you want it to be more of an MMO, that might be something to have a look at. I see a lot of people talking about Quinfall. That has some potential, but it seems to be a relatively small studio promising a lot, so I'll sort of believe it when I see it, but if they deliver it, It looks to be a very nice looking game, so we'll keep an eye on that one as well. Honestly, there's probably more that I didn't mention. If I did not mention something that you're interested in, make sure you let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure you do hit the like button. And if you want to be kept up to date with all kinds of MMOs, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'll talk more a little bit about that in a comment below, so make sure you check that out. Other than that, I hope you have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.